Physics, chemistry, and biology, they're great studies. They're very useful. But if you actually want to understand things, you have to turn to history. Vico's really great idea is that history is the domain that we can actually understand. Why? Because it's something that human beings did. People made human civilizations, and that means people can understand where they came from and why they happened. With nature, you're never going to understand it. Nature is just a mysterious world. You can figure out how to manipulate it, but it's inherently mysterious. But human history is human action, and therefore open to human understanding. That's Vico's great idea. But he goes on from there too. So he's saying that human history happens for a reason. People do things for a reason, and the reason is the fulfillment of human needs and human nature. But that reason that guides the history of the development of human civilizations is not some idea that anybody had. Rather, it's the intelligence that was operating through human decision making, despite the fact that the people doing things had all kinds of other things on their mind. Right? Vico says the only thing that really guides people generally is a kind of self-love. Like, people are after their own interests. But the amazing thing is that people, by pursuing their own interests, bring about a situation that in fact brings about the betterment of human people as a whole. So the rationality or the good reasons behind human history are not things that you find by asking the individual historical agents, why did you do this or whatever. It's what you find by studying three things. It's what you find by studying the myths, the social institutions, and the languages of historical people. Those three human creations express the intelligence of human history, but they don't do it in conceptual terms. So Vico's great work, his new science, is the science of turning to those things, the myths, the political institutions, and the languages of people, to extract from them the story of why human history makes sense. And one thing that he finds is the core of human civilizations always have three basic principles around them, right? There are three basic principles that make civilization. And he says they are people who come together with a kind of religion. And what that really means is it's precisely a belief in, as he says, providence, right? Which is to say, it's a belief in exactly that idea, that there is intelligence at work here, even if it's not what people themselves understand. And that turns out to be true, right? There is a kind of intelligence guiding history through human actions, even though the agents don't understand it. Civilizations are built around the institution of marriage. Why is that important? Because marriage means the recognition of the family, which he says importantly means the recognition of the importance of children. Right? Through marriage, that self-love I mentioned earlier gets expanded to the point where, well, you care about your spouse, and, well, I guess your wife, because you're probably a man. You care about your wife and your children too. That caring for children is what leads people to hand down history, to hand down a tradition, right? Marriage produces the need to take care of that next generation, and that's what produces teaching and tradition. The third principle is burial. Burial is precisely the domain where people recognize the need to respect the humanity of humans, so that when you die, you're not understood just as a rotting body that's now going to become food for birds and dogs, but rather the community says through burial, we continue to recognize you as a person who needs to be remembered. Vico goes on to talk about what he calls an ideal eternal history. In other words, as he looks to the history of myths, the history of political institutions, and the history of human languages, and discerns in them the rationality of human development, he finds in them the understandable patterns by which that self-love is progressively expanded from oneself to one's family to one's society to humanity as a whole, etc. He looks at the way the development of a human world has in fact been accomplished through that human history, and shows how there's a predictable kind of sequence that things follow in different civilizations. But the core idea behind Vico is just that idea that human actions are inherently understandable by human beings, and that's not found by appealing to what people say they are doing or what their reasons are that they say they have, but by studying what they actually do and discerning the sense that's implicit in that. And that sense is ultimately the making of a world that fulfills human needs and supports human flourishing.